Morning, glory, America, bonjour, I, Canada, Hugh Hewitt. So glad to have you with me on this Monday. We have progress with the Ever Given, the big Empire State Building, long as the Empire State Building is tall, boat, the Ever Given is floating, sort of, in the Suez Canal. Now, the 1,300-foot Ever Given is a skyscraper's length tall, filled with cargo as well. So this is no easy thing, but the moon helped us. The moon brought in a special tide, and so it's partially freed. And Osama Ruby, the chairman of the Suez Authority, says, "We are not finished yet, but it has moved." Well, good. Now, the Financial Times is declaring Suez Canal ship partially refloated in boost for global trade. Washington Post has a story on a Suez Canal village like the world has a ship stuck in its backyard and looks at it all day long. The good news is that the New York Times ran a Steelers fan story. Why is the Suez Canal so important? This is actually under the heading for Steelers fans in the New York Times. Where is the Suez Canal? The canal is in Egypt, connecting Port Said on the Mediterranean Sea to the Indian Ocean via the Egyptian city of Suez on the Red Sea. The passage enables more direct shipping between Europe and Asia. I love it when they do the Steelers stories. Who built the Suez Canal and when? The canal, originally owned by French investors, was conceived when Egypt was under control of the Ottoman Empire in the mid-19th century. Construction began at the Port Said end in early 1859, and it took 10 years and 1.3 million workers. Which country controls the canal now? Now, notice they really understand it's for Steelers fans because they already told you that it's Egypt, but they tell you twice. And that's just terrific. I'm glad they got that going. Meanwhile, we are going to have a war with China. Now, I hate to be the first person to break the news to you, but if you pay attention, we're going to have a war with China. Now, I don't know if it's going to be a big war or a little war, or if it's going to be in the Philippines or over Taiwan or over a vessel. This is what the novel Admiral Stavridis wrote with Elliot Ackerman called 2034 is about. It's what the book Chaos Under Heaven points to. But the story arc is this way. Wall Street Journal. New trade representative says U.S. isn't ready to lift China tariffs. So in the United States, we're talking about tariffs. All right. Tariff here, tariff there. Wall Street Journal says China helped rev up, then slow down the global commodities boom. In other words, China controls the prices of commodity around the world. Those seem rather benign economic stories, don't they? Okay, let's go to the real stuff. On Friday, so it happened on a Friday, so you didn't see anything about it because the Suez Canal was blocked and we were playing Sweet 16 basketball. China flies at least 20 warplanes in Taiwan airspace. The largest incursion by the CCP's Air Force since the Taiwan Defense Ministry announced almost daily Chinese military exercises into its airspace per Reuters. A person familiar with Taiwan's defense planning told Reuters that the Chinese military was simulating an operation against U.S. warships throughout the Bashi Channel. All right, that's story number one. Story number two, South China Morning Post. China will conduct a military drill in the South China Sea next Monday and Tuesday as tensions rise in the region. The China Maritime Safety Administration issued a notice on Friday saying an area between China's southernmost province of Hainan and the Paracel Islands will be closed to maritime traffic during military training. They're not allowed to do that, by the way. Meanwhile, they've surrounded the disputed Whitsun Reef with little tiny Chinese fishing boats and told the Philippine military they're not leaving. So the Philippine military is going to run some ships through there. From the New Zealand news comes South China Sea military risk rising, APSI Security Summit officials warn. They're very up to date with it on that side of the world. Quoting one of their senior defense intellectuals at the maritime facility there. So if China's successful in undoing the freedom of the sea, If they are successful in shifting trade ashore to the continental trade quarters they're building in the interior of Eurasia to the Belt and Road, the United States and our maritime partners will be left on the outside. Got that? And listen, China introduced a new Coast Guard law that allows them to forcibly board non-compliant foreign vessels they claim are illegally engaged in economic waters that they claim, which is all of the South China Sea. It allows them to use all means necessary, including force, to stop foreigners found infringing on China's sovereignty. Then, of course, comes the knockout blow from NBC News. This is the appeasement caucus in the United States surrendering before it begins. China's growing firepower cast doubt on whether U.S. could defend Taiwan. Ken Delaney and Dan DeLuce. Their white flag is up over at NBC where I work. China's massive arms buildup has raised doubts about America's ability to defend Taiwan if a war broke out, reflecting a shift of balance of power in the Pacific. They're surrendering. Surrender caucus is surrendering. Meanwhile, China sanctioned Americans on the U.S. Commission of International Religious Freedom, Gail Manchin, Tony Perkins, banning them from entering the Chinese mainland, Hong Kong, and Macau because the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom keeps track of the genocide of the Uyghurs, the suppression of the Protestant churches, the increasing pressure on the Catholic Church. So we're going to have a war with China. Might be this year. I would, if you're the Chinese, you do it when Joe Biden is asleep at the wheel. I mean, he's going to come out today and announce $3 trillion in giveaways in the United States. And we'll talk with Michael Scheer next hour and with Jake Sherman this hour about the fact that they're going to run through 2 more reconciliation bills. You're only supposed to get 2, 1 per year, and they're going to try and trick the parliamentarian into saying 3 so they can spend another $3 trillion. None of it for defense. Heck, they might get some Republican votes if they actually built some ships. None of it for defense. None, zero, zippo. But they are going to do that. Meanwhile, the White House is developing a vaccine passport. 1-800-520-1234. Worst idea I've seen yet. That will slow down the vaccination. That will give the extreme right wing something to chew on a bone all day long because they're afraid it's, the mark of the devil, 666 or something like that. It ought to come from the private sector. If the private sector develops it, you don't have to use it. The government should have nothing to do with it. But they're going to do it. Meanwhile, Russia's Putin is pumping up swagger and swipes at Biden. It's not just Donald Trump at a wedding reception, though I will play that for you coming up. Donald Trump wandered into a wedding reception at Mar-a-Lago in a tuxedo and proceeded not to sing The Way You Look Tonight, but to or start spreading the news. He just gave a 3-minute soliloquy on Joe Biden in the middle of a wedding reception. Must have been a hell of a wedding. Russia's Putin is making fun of 78-year-old Joe Biden. They barb him all the time. They accuse it. They don't call him the American president. They call him the American patient in Russia. That's nasty. And then I just want to say this. I want to be on the record. Kevin Blackistone, I do not know him. He's a professor. He's a visiting professor at a college that I don't know his work. I happen to have seen the ESPN commentary in which he said this because I was in the dentist chair. He announced that the Major League Baseball should pull the All-Star game from Atlanta this year because of the Georgia voter security law. If baseball does that, they will break baseball. That will be it. It'll be far worse than NFL players kneeling. If Georgia protecting the security of the ballot is somehow condemned as racist, which it is not. I know the lefties are saying it is. It's not. It's protecting the ballot. If Major League Baseball gets involved with that, they're out of their minds. They will crash. It will end baseball. It will permanently damage baseball if they get involved in that. If the NC2A gets involved in that. Voting security is not racist. And if the woke people in the leagues try and say so, that's the end of those leagues. I'll be right back, America. It's the Hugh Hewitt